Lots of people hopping on. Thank you for being here with us tonight, you guys. We'll get started with our Metzger reopening presentation here in just a moment. And everyone can see here if you would like interpretation. Si quiere escuchar a esta presentación en español, si haga clic en el globo, en el mundo, y si puede escoger español, okay? If you would like Marshallese, you're gonna select Russian. And we also have Arabic interpretation tonight, but that is selected under French. Okay, so we're going to give everybody just a chance to get to the right language. We have a few more folks joining us. We'll get started in just a minute. Thank you for spending your evening with us. I know it's getting late here. Okay, otra vez en español. Si quiere escuchar esta presentación en español, haga clic en el globo, en el mundo, en la pantalla y si puede cambiar esta presentación a español. Y tenemos Lucía que va a presentar en español. También la próxima semana, en martes, vamos a tener una presentación con la noche con la directora, solo en español, y podemos hablar más sobre hybrid and online. As a reminder, we have an evening with the principal next week also, where we'll talk more about this and have opportunity for Q&A. We'll host that in English and Spanish. All right, everyone, let's get started here. Thank you for joining us tonight. I know it's a little bit later in the evening, so I appreciate it. It looks like we've got lots of folks here tonight. I am going to walk through what the hybrid model will look like for us as we get ready to reopen schools. And our hope tonight is to be able to give you a really good picture of what it's going to look like as if you should select the hybrid model, what it will look like as our kiddos re-enter school, as your children come back in and get used to all the things in school. And I've got an awesome crew here ready to help us answer questions tonight. I have, and I'll pause for interpretation in just a moment here. We have an amazing, our office team, our literacy specialists, and I also have my colleague, Jordan Mills, who's the principal over at Bridgeport, joining us tonight to help us answer questions. All right, whenever we're ready, next slide, please. Okay, so as I said tonight, my whole goal is for you to have a really good understanding of exactly what we know right now in terms of reopening schools for the hybrid model. We're going to talk through our half-day schedule for pre-K to 5th grade. We'll continue to really prioritize our social emotional learning for our students. And as you can see, we're going to talk through our health and safety protocols. Make it really clear for you as a family, if you're navigating this choice and feeling like you want to stay with CDL, with the online option, we'll talk about exactly what that will look like for your family. And finally, we'll close out our night with the choice, the way that you will make your choice. Every family needs to go into Parent View and make a selection again, hybrid or online. And we'll talk about exactly what that will look like and give you our very best information around a timeline of when exactly we will reopen schools to welcome children inside. Next slide, please. So just a review where we've been. It's been a completely uncharted year here. As a reminder, in August of 2020, as we reopened in the fall, our metrics that you guys are really familiar with, we're going to see a visual of them in just a moment, they were mandatory, meaning it was not within district's control. Then we see that we moved down the timeline late in October. We were provided with more flexibility. And then finally, a couple of days right before Christmas, the metrics shifted to advisory, meaning that they're guidance, they're not mandatory. And finally, just last week on January 19th, we got our new metrics, which didn't have a ton of changes. But just to give you some information on why is it safe to reopen schools now? Next slide, please, Thor. Thinking about what those metrics would look like for us, that we are now well within the range to open for hybrid. So as we open for hybrid, thinking about our goals, our goal is First and foremost, we want to provide a safe re-entry for our students, for our families, and for our staff. We are committed to offering in-person learning through the hybrid model, and we're also committed to providing the online option for our families who are selecting to stay online for the remainder of the year. A reminder, which I think the visual for our metrics is coming up next, that we are now at 333 cases per 100,000 per week. And if we can bop to that next slide, you can see in that orange level right there, that's where we're falling. So these metrics, they are guidance, they are advisory. They're no longer mandatory, but they're based in medical evidence and guidance from medical professionals. And we will continue to use these metrics as our guidance to reopen. And what that means is that you can see as we move to the right, if we were to see a spike in community spread in COVID cases in our community, we would move to CDL to be safe, right? If we saw the decrease, which we're hoping to see, we could potentially even see more middle school, high school, and all those things along the way. But for right now, we're safely within the orange zone. And tonight we're going to talk about what on-site hybrid will look like for elementary. As a reminder, if you have questions along the way, we have a chat, a Q&A space there. Please feel free to enter your Q&A. We have lots of folks here that are able to help answer questions, and we'll pause along the way to give you as much information as we can. Next slide, please. Okay, here we go. So our goals of reopening. Obviously, I think for a lot of us on our minds, getting our children back in with other kids, seeing their buddies, being around peers, and having those adult connections. We want to relearn how to be in school through the hybrid model. For many of our kinders, they've never even been to school. So it will be learning for the first time how to be in school. And we also want to increase that engagement in our academic achievement. We know, especially for our youngest students, learning in person is often a lot more effective than it can be through advice. Next slide, please. So if you rewind just a little bit, you'll remember that when you originally selected hybrid, or when we first spoke about the hybrid model, we were talking about an A day, B day schedule, meaning kids would go to school for 2 full days, Monday, Tuesday, for example, and then be learning online independently Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Okay, and we've learned a lot from districts around us. We've learned a lot in watching folks implement that model. And the reason that we're shifting to a half-day model, which is an AM or a PM session for your child with live instruction 4 days a week, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, is consistency for students. When we think about kindergartners, first graders, pre-K students, having 2 full days of in-class, in-person time on Monday and Tuesday, and then going without seeing their teacher or their class Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, except for a little bit of online and a lot of independent practice, that's 5 days that they go without any school routines or without seeing their teachers. And so our committee of lots of teachers and getting family input, specialists, everyone else, really looking at getting our kids back in school for hybrid 4 days a week consistently, even for a shorter amount of time, will still give them that great benefit of getting reading and math and social emotional 4 days a week. Okay. It will allow us to keep a similar pace to our 100% online cohort, which is critical for teaming, getting that same great programming. It also supports our students in learning new health and safety routines. Our students will be sitting in desks, and they will have their own area for supplies. They will have their own, you'll see soon a little picture of a little plexiglass setting, and there will be a lot less movement in the classroom. When we think about 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds reentering the classroom, a half day at a time with really consistent teacher and student interaction is going to progress our kids along the way. Okay, next slide. So this is the schedule that your child would be attending. Now, a couple of things to think about. Your child would be placed in either the AM or the PM cohort. And you can see the times here, 8:25 to 10:55 or 12:25 to 2:55. We will do everything we can, of course, siblings being placed together so that your students could come to school at the same time each day. And again, as in the past, if you have a cohort because you have a hardship with daycare or transportation and you need your child to be placed in a specific cohort because of a hardship, please email us and let us know after you register on ParentView, and we're going to do everything we can do to make that work. It is quite a puzzle, but just like in the fall, we'll do everything we can to try and accommodate. We cannot make promises about that, though. Siblings will be placed together. This is the schedule for pre-K to 5th grade. So even though we're going to have that staggered rollout, all grade levels will be on a 4-day-a-week, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, AM or PM. Next slide, please. So as I said, 4 days a week, AM or PM, your Wednesday will remain the same. Students will be learning from home, have that morning meeting virtually with their teacher, and have independent work the rest of the day, just as they do right now. Next slide, please. So your teacher will have, approximately half the class in for AM and in for PM, and they'll be teaching the students right in front of them. We will not be teaching kids on Google Meet behind them and kids right in front of them. We've learned from many places around us that that is not good. It doesn't serve the students online if the teacher's focused on the kids in front of them and vice versa. So the kiddos in front of them will be getting live instruction, and when children go home, they'll be working on practice, a couple of assignments on their iPads or in their work up to what the instruction they just had in the classroom. Okay. There could also be small groups and interventions online in the afternoon if your child attends school in the morning, or vice versa. They may have some online small groups or interventions in the morning if they attend school in the afternoon, but that's for specific individual needs of students. Next slide, please. And please tell me, Lucia, if I need to slow down. Feel free to tag me here. I know we're trying to interpret as we go here. So recess, we will have recess. That will be a part of our schedule, and you guys will get a nice picture of our full schedule here in just a minute. We would go out only with our class cohort, so students would stay with their intact little cohorts, and we would have kids separated out and make sure to have the equipment be sanitized and safe. We'll talk a lot more about what recess will look like and train up our kids so that when they come in, they can go play outside confidently during recess time. Supplies, school supplies, for many of you who've been in school for a long time, something very new is there will be no shared supplies. So kiddos will have their own desk, they'll have their own supplies. iPads will come to school and home every night. There's a lot of reasons for that. We'll continue to utilize our digital learning. Students may still have assignments on Seesaw or in their Canvas homeroom. And also, we will always have that tool in the case that we ever had to flip to distance learning again. If we all needed to quarantine for 2 weeks, your child has their iPad, which is their key to accessing distance learning, and we don't skip a beat. Okay. Transportation is available, and it'll bus for AM and PM routes. We're going to show you in a minute how we're going to work to keep kiddos safe and distance on the bus. Transportation is a really important thing that you are going to show in your choice in ParentView also. We need to know if your child needs to take the bus. You don't have to take the bus, but we do need to know if you want to, and we'll talk more about that. Next slide, please. Okay, so as I said, we're going to balance classes just like in the fall when we chose. We know that we're going to try and place by last name in an effort to keep families together. We also know that families may have hardships, and we may need to accommodate to help folks get to a cohort that works for them. So we're going to do our best to do that. After you make your choice, please email Metzger office and get in contact with us. Again, we can't make any promises, but we are going to do our best to try and make this work for families. We know this is a tough schedule. For meals, if you would like one, meals will be available, lunch and breakfast, grab and go. We won't be eating lunch at school. your child will be able to grab those lunch items, have them in their backpack, and take them home to eat. We do plan on having kiddos have a snack while they're at school, and we'll talk a lot more about the details of when and how to bring snack and what that will look like. But in terms of lunches, those will be eaten at home, and we'll have grab and go ready to go. That is part of your choice when you go into Parent View and make a selection, telling us if your child would like a grab and go lunch and breakfast. Okay, let's go next slide, please. All right, so this is the schedule slide, which I feel like is a lot to look at, but it's really important just to get a grasp of what a day in the life of our kids will look like in hybrid. So arrival will take a while because there won't be very many kids on each bus. So children will slowly arrive. They will be screened upon arrival, which we'll talk more about. And then they will walk to their classroom. Our morning meeting, our classroom meeting, continues to be a huge priority for our teachers and our students as a way to just settle in with a social emotional check-in time. Our kids love that time. If you're watching your child learn online right now, our teachers love that time. Unanimously, they've said, what are we taking when we go back in the building? And that's that morning meeting, social emotional check-in time. It's been a huge takeaway, a silver lining in a really challenging school year. We'll have reading, just like we would in previously in brick and mortar. We'll have whole group instruction. We'll be able to have small group instruction for reading. We'll have some recess time, as we said, that will look different, but we'll still be playing outside. And then math time, which will include whole group and small group. And then that first cohort would head home. Okay, and then you can see exactly repeating the same thing. So cohort A and cohort B are getting the same instruction, just at different times of the day, and would be assigned the same independent work. Okay, I want to stop here and just check in for my panel, my crew. Do you want to stop and ask any questions here? Joyce, did you want to speak to anything really quickly?
Nope, I just hit the wrong button.
Okay, it just said you were going to answer live, so I was like, "Go Joyce, it's time." So we'll talk more about that at the end. Is that what you want to do, Joyce?
Yes. Well, I just had a question about Title I, and we will still run Title I services and small group intervention for Spanish and English, and so we're just working out the kinks with scheduling. So
absolutely. So whether that's virtually. Most likely virtually, we're still going to work and make sure that we get additional interventions, and also with that would be specially designed instruction and SDI for our students on IEPs. Any other questions you guys are seeing come up that we should hit now, or we can keep rocking and rolling? All right, let's see here. Okay. Yep, got a really quick question. So just as a quick answer here, all kids, kindergarten, pre-K, kindergarten, first, all the way to 5th grade will go to school 4 days a week. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Your child will come on the cohort time, whether they're AM or PM, morning or afternoon. They will come 4 days a week if you choose hybrid. Okay. All right. That is a really good question about teachers, and we're going to talk about that. In fact, let's talk about it right now. So part of one of the things I need everyone to understand with this transition is that we guaranteed that we would offer every parent the choice to choose again, hybrid or online, for the remainder of the year. And with that choice means that the numbers have the potential to shift from the amount of students who choose online and the amount of students who choose hybrid. And with that, teaching assignments will change as we move to accommodate what our families will select. So there is a very real chance that students will change teachers. If you are choosing the hybrid cohort, and just depending on the amount of numbers of kiddos that choose hybrid, the teacher assignment could change. And the same is true if you stayed with online. You may end up with the same teacher that you have, or you may end up shifting to a different teacher. And I'm going to continue to have us think of this time as actually relaunching the school year. because when you look at staffing and when you look at the potential for what families may choose, that will dictate where staffing goes and where teachers go. I know that as an elementary school, as a parent, as a teacher, as a principal, we don't change, typically we do not change teachers in elementary school, not the way that we do in middle and high. And so this is a really tough spot that we are in, where we're going to need to accommodate what selections are made. And there is potential, very real potential for classroom assignments to change, okay? And we're gonna talk about the timeline of when you would know that and how we'll help you get ready for that, how we'll help the child adjust to that. But I just wanna really acknowledge, I know that is a tough thing. That is a tough reality of part of reopening and moving into hybrid this time of year, okay? And I'm gonna keep checking. Yes, so just answering your questions as we go, and then we'll go into Q&A, is that at the very end, we'll have more time for Q&A, you guys, is that, so if your child comes to school in the afternoon, they would have assignments to complete in the morning online, but not live instruction, right? Or if your child comes to school in the morning, they would have assignments to complete independently in the afternoon, but not live instruction. Okay. All right, let's go. Next slide, please. All right, so as we said, social emotional learning continues to be a huge priority for our school. I think I already referenced this, but one of the things that we talk about, what will we never lose from our year with COVID, is really prioritizing 30 minutes of time for social emotional check-in for our students to really share and talk about those skills, talk about empathy, talk about social justice, thinking about just connecting as a community for our kids. It's critical. And we see our children really come alive and feel most engaged often during this time. We will have daily classroom meetings built in, whether you choose online or whether you choose to go hybrid. That will be something that will continue to be there. Individualized supports. We, as you know, we have a team, our counseling team, Mario Cortez, Emma Wagner, Danielle Marino. We will continue to try and offer all of the individualized supports that our students need. And that may range from individual check-ins with an adult to virtual playtime, virtual playgroups and games with grade level peers. Okay, so that will continue to be a priority for us even as we make this transition. Next slide, please. Okay. If you look very closely at this amazing picture, you can see Thunder, the Mustang. He's right behind the Mary Woodward Eagle. And what we got to do is we are really getting excited, and some of our team at the district office is set up some amazing time to video and get things ready as we prepare students and families for what it will look like to come back to school. Here you have some neighboring mascots. You can see the Bridgeport Bulldog right there in the front row. And this is just a photo from a video that our kids will watch as we teach them how to ride the bus, okay? Some things that we will normalize and work really hard on to teach everyone in a fun and engaging way like this is that we will ask our families to help us with daily symptom screening. Something that is majorly different this year is pre-COVID, if our children had symptoms that we weren't really sure of, maybe a runny nose, we couldn't really tell what was going on, that would be an iffy place of whether or not to send your child to school. We're going to make it really, really clear about when you need to keep your child home from school, and your support in this will be what will help us keep schools open, right? So we're going to partner with our families. We need you to help us with screening. We need you to help us by keeping your kids home when they're sick. And we'll continue to talk about that. We will screen all children as they enter the building, giving them, looking for any type of symptoms. We will not be taking the temperatures of every single child. There's actually quite a bit of evidence that doesn't always catch that, and that's not as great of an indicator as they once thought. All students and adults will be wearing masks at all times. We are going to teach this and make this as fun as we can. There are preschools across the nation that have kiddos in masks and they can do it. Okay, so we're going to teach them and we're going to help our students learn to do that. Hand washing. Our kids will be washing hands constantly. Hand sanitizer, little kiosks are put all over the building. And then in terms of cleaning the building, in between cohorts, teachers will be spraying down and just sanitizing a high-touch surface area in their classrooms. And our custodians will be going through and disinfecting all the common use areas, bathrooms, hallways, high-touch surfaces. On Wednesday, when no one is in the building, we'll also be sanitizing the entire building. Okay. Next slide, please. Okay, and Lucia, there's no way for you to let me know if you need time on this slide right here. We have our amazing interpreter going over this information in Spanish. Okay. Next slide, please. Okay, so what will it look like in the classroom here? When we talk about cohorts, half of your class will be in the morning and half of the students' class will be in the afternoon. So if you think about a classroom that has, 22 kids, let's say there will be 11 students in the morning and 11 students in the afternoon. As you can see here with some of our amazing mascots, we've got plexiglass on each student's desk. In fact, in a moment, you're going to see a picture of these trifolds that go around each student's desk. Our teachers will also have plexiglass barriers on their desks. And this is just another additional barrier on top of a mask that every person in the room will wear to offer that additional protection for our students and for our staff. When we talk about relaunching and reopening, we really are starting to frame this as beginning a whole nother school year in some ways, because we know that we need to teach these expectations from the ground up, everything from how to get your backpack, how to load your lunch, how to unload your iPad in the morning, all of the things that our children need to learn. Our teachers, we're gonna have lots of time to prepare and help get our kids ready. We're gonna send home virtual lessons, video lessons for kids to watch with their families, to do everything that we can do to help our kids walk in feeling a little bit more confident about launching into this new time, okay? And let's see, and we will have FAQs on the TTSD website. Again, you guys, if you have more questions, please email the office, call the office. We're here to help you every step of the way. We know this is not an easy decision. Next slide, please. So this is, I believe that's the CFT Wildcat there. And you see he has a little trifold. Each child will have one of those just to help again with that added layer of protection. And they will have physical books along with their iPads. They will have paper pencil supplies, and their homework that comes home for independent work could be in their iPad, and it also could be just a physical, their math book, their math practice page for independent work. Okay, next slide, please. Now we have a really fun preview of one of our back to school videos. So I am going to mute, and Thor, will you play this for us? Wonderful. Okay, Thor, will you and we are going to watch this and just let it play in Spanish also so that we can interpret it. But this is just one example. We're going to have several different videos to teach our kids and our families the different expectations of when we re-enter school. And this is just one fun and friendly way to help our kids start to get comfortable with all of the new routines. So let's listen to it in Spanish now. Here we go. Awesome. Thank you, Thor. And just a fine little piece of information there. That's our own Emma Wagner, the counselor in the Thunder the Mustang suit. She loves being our mascot, and I think you'll be able to see that she is an outstanding mascot in every one of those videos. All right, so that's just a teaser of some of the stuff we're going to use to teach our kids. Now we want to talk a little bit about health and safety protocols. Please keep your questions coming. In just a moment, I'm going to be able to circle back and kind of go through all those pieces, okay? So general quarantine protocol, if you came to PSO this month, you've heard me kind of talk about this already. Dr. Sue has hit this in her board meetings. Essentially, one of the most important things for us as families, if you choose to go to hybrid, you need to understand that at any point, there may be cause for the entire cohort or for a group of students to quarantine and move back to CDL, to distance learning online at home. And this is one way that we really are cautious and protect against the spread of COVID at school. Okay, so in a moment, we're going to look at a visual that has a lot on it. But my most important thing for you to know from this is that one ways that schools successfully limit the spread of COVID is we use extreme caution and quarantine out the entire cohort if there is a confirmed case within that cohort. Now, with the masks, with the additional barriers, the chance of transmission is low, but we will continue to take that precaution just to ensure to go that extra mile and make sure that we're not transmitting any COVID at school. Okay, so just to look, when you look at this and you look at the red dot, look at A, that is the confirmed case. As a reminder, B, that is yellow, we call that a close contact. Okay, and those folks, all close contacts around that confirmed case would quarantine. The C's, the green ones, our close contact of the close contact do not need to quarantine. And I'm going to try and explain that a little better on the next slide. Next slide, please. Okay, awesome. So usually I like to flip back and forth on this, but follow me if you will. I know it's late to be talking about quarantining. But if you look at the blue slide, the blue student, the blue circle, and he's in cohort A, if you're looking at the boxes of the classrooms, right? He's the positive, just pretend this is our positive case. The student in the red bubble is now a close contact. They're a B, and they need to go out. In fact, every student in that room is now a B, and they need to go quarantine at home, okay? Go down to the blue little guy's bus 1 down here. All of those students are in his cohort as well, and they are all now close contacts that also need to quarantine out. So you can see very quickly that if we did have a confirmed case, there may be a time where we need to flip and move to CDL for 2 weeks while students quarantine to be on the safe side. Okay, now the kiddo in green on the bus, if you come down on the bus, I'm sorry, I'm not controlling the pointer here, but the down here, the student in green on the bus, if you look at his cohort in the classroom, all of those students are C's because he's the close contact, which is B, and the rest of them are just close contacts of the close contact and do not need to quarantine. For consistency's sake, if one cohort goes out and needs to quarantine, the entire class will flip to CDL to stay with their teacher and stay on track with PACE. Okay, so that's part of just the deal as we get through this time. We know that our end game, what we want to get to is regular school, full-time in-person school, but part of the deal with hybrid as we navigate the current metrics is that we need to be ready to quarantine out and flip to CDL when we need to make sure that we have the highest level of health and safety protocols at school. Okay, next slide, please. All right. For my families who might be thinking about staying with a CDL option or moving to a CDL option, our commitment is to provide that program for you for the rest of the year. It's important for you to know that even if you choose this, whether you're staying in CDL or choosing to move to CDL, whichever way, there is a chance that you will have a different teacher than you have right now. There's also a chance that you may be learning with students alongside grade level peers that are from a different school. This was presented in the fall, and it's the same way here. We've avoided that for the most part at Metzger. We have very few students learning online with other teachers from other schools, but that's a really very real reality at other elementary schools. And so I just want to prepare all of us and be really honest and transparent that there is a chance that our online classes could end up blended taught by an amazing TTSD teacher, taught with the same great curriculum, but there is a chance that it is not just Metzger kids and just a Metzger teacher. Okay, so again, I'm just going to call it out very quickly. I've talked to a lot of parents, and I know that the ideal thing would be to say, I will follow my teacher. Wherever my teacher goes, I will do that. I hear you in that, and that is not something we can do. We first need you to choose the model, and then we respond with the staffing. And I know how hard that feels, and I know this is a tough spot to be in. And I think the only thing that's helping us as a staff right now, and maybe this will help also, is to sort of think of this as relaunching a new school year. So if your child does end up with a new teacher, please rest assured that we are going to make sure that they get the introduction that is much like a new school year, and the time to learn the procedures just like a new school year, and a warm welcome just like a new school year. Okay, we don't usually start a new school year in the springtime, but this is really uncharted territory, and we're going to do everything we can to really accommodate your family's choice in terms of the way that you want your child to learn, hybrid in person or online for the rest of the year. Okay, next slide, please. So we really want you to take some time, talk as a family, call us, call the office, call me. I have an evening with the principal time next Tuesday. We've got an English session at 5, Spanish session at 6. We're going to talk all about this. But we need every person to go into Parent View and choose. And we're going to talk about what that looks like. You guys know our office team, Debbie, Mario, Coco, Sarah, and we are going to be here to help you. And all you need to do is email the office, call the office. We'll help you every single step of the way. Okay, so let's talk about how to do that. Next slide, please. So you're going to log into Parent View. There are links everywhere. We are going to send you a tutorial tomorrow. We have one in English and Spanish. It's a video. It will lead you through every step of how to make your choice. Again, every family needs to choose this. You need to choose hybrid, or you need to choose online. You cannot default to something that you've already chosen in August, okay? So we're going to go through, but the options that you're choosing are hybrid or online. You're going to tell us your transportation. Do you need a bus? And you're going to tell us about meals. Do you need a breakfast and a lunch? Would you like one? Okay, next slide, please. So first things first, when you get into Parent View, and if for some reason you don't know how to do Parent View, again, email us, call us in the office. We will help you. We will get you in there and make it work, okay? But this is really easy once you have Parent View on your phone. Not necessarily easy to make the selection, but once you get Parent View on the phone, it's going to be a lot easier to get logged in. So you're going to select 2020-21 hybrid or 100% online, not student enrollment. Okay, keep going. Then you're going to tell us transportation, whether your student will walk, whether they will have a daycare bus that will bring them, or whether they will need a bus, okay, or be parent pickup. So you will tell us that. Next slide, please. And then you will tell us about your meals, whether you want a breakfast, a lunch, both. We are providing meals free of cost, and they will be grab and go, not eaten at school, but eaten at home after they get home. Next slide. All right, so just to reiterate our schedule, you saw our timelines in here. Again, this is recorded. This is going home to you. So you can look at this again and see this information again. When we talk about timeline here, PK to 5 staff, the window's open for vaccination today. We're rolling through getting our staff fully immunized, and we're talking about 2 vaccines in that 2-week waiting period to get our staff fully immunized, and then we're going to reopen our doors. The schedule is the same pre-K to 5th grade. It is, if you choose hybrid, it's either an AM cohort or a PM cohort when your child will come to school 4 days a week. That's the same for pre-K, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, okay? We will do a rolling start. So when pre-K, kindy, and 1st grade opens for hybrid, we will have some time between when we roll out 2nd and 3rd grade, and then 4th and 5th grade. This is really common to districts around us. One thing that's super important is that all students will get re-rostered at the same time. So when we switch over for kindy and 1st grade to have their new teachers, pre-K, kindy, and 1st grade, to get their new teacher assignments in the mail and have their welcome time with their teachers, our students 2nd through 5th grade will also get information about their new teachers if they get a new teacher. Remember, you may stay with your same teacher or you may have a new teacher. And either way, we're gonna do the same welcome process, the same reentry process for you, and that timeline will be the same. You will have that information at least 2 weeks before schools reopen. Okay, you'll have your placement information at least 2 weeks, maybe more, before schools reopen. Okay, our target date, which you can read on here, when you calculate folks getting vaccinated with the information that we have right now, we're looking at mid to late March for a start time. And for family decisions right now, really thinking with that timeline in mind, mid to late March, what makes the most sense? Do we want to go hybrid and re-enter? Do we want to stay CDL? And I know that's a tough decision right now with so much unknown, but we're hoping that we can give you enough information for you to go ahead and choose. And then I think just any other questions, panel, do we see anything else that we want to hit before we close out here?
Yes, Wendell, we have a couple questions about quarantine that might be worth discussing as a group.
Awesome. Okay, I'm looking at this right now in Q&A. Awesome. Okay, so if a child becomes positive, will he need a negative test to come back to school? We will have really clear information for you on that. It is a mandatory 14-day quarantine. And then there are really specific guidelines around having either a negative test or being symptom-free for a certain amount of time, okay? And so rest assured, I'm gonna send home, we will have really clear parent guidance for how a student would re-enter if they did have a positive COVID test, okay? And again, we do have really strong precautious quarantine procedures, but we have seen that that is what keeps our schools safe and free of transmission. Okay, does a single teacher, yes, so wonderful. So a question that happened was if we have a hybrid teacher who's teaching an A cohort and a B cohort, what happens if that teacher needs to quarantine for 2 weeks? What happens if one cohort needs to quarantine for 2 weeks? And right now, the likelihood is that the entire class would go to CDL for 2 weeks. to stay with their teachers, stay consistent with their learning, and keep on the path. We know when you look around at other states who've been in hybrid, we can expect that there's a chance that this will happen. And actually, the time spent in CDL has made our kids pretty good at flipping into online and digital learning. And we anticipate that we will have one of these things happen this spring. It's a great question. If my child is quarantined in hybrid, but his class isn't, how will he learn? That's a great question. And so one of the things that could happen is a child could be exposed to COVID in the community. So let's say you, for some reason, your child was with someone over the weekend and you find out they have COVID. Your child is going to quarantine for 2 weeks, but no one at school has potentially been exposed. That child can join the online class of his grade level and language level to attend school for 2 weeks. Our teams are going to be right on pace with each other. And while there's a tiny bit of learning of how this teacher does online practices or something like that, they won't lose any access to their education while they quarantine. Okay. Yes, so great question from Jason. Just talking about the likelihood and thinking about our children changing teachers. This is a hard thing for all of us to even think about because our kids have built these phenomenal relationships with our teachers. And what I would say is that I continue to frame this, and I will frame this for our children, our Metzger children, for kids that I talk to, for our teachers, in that we are launching into a whole new stage. We're moving into reopening, and all of us are moving at the same time. So while some students may stay with their teacher and some students may get a new teacher, it really is a whole new period of reopening, because no matter what, even if they stay with their teacher, they will have new students join their class. So there will be a need to have some of these opening routines and community building again. And it is certainly less than ideal to relaunch a school year in April, right? But that's what we're talking about doing. And that's how I think we need to frame it for our kids. At Metzger, many of you know our teams are tight. Our teaching teams are very tight, especially our teammates within our English partners and our TWE partners. They are lockstep in their planning in terms of reading, math, SEL. They truly teach the same thing as each other every day. And our panel here can attest to the collaboration that goes on. And so I know that the idea of someone flipping to the other teacher or having a different teacher is really unnerving. I'm comforted by the idea that it really won't be that different. And I think we need to support our kids in really thinking of closure and then opening of a new journey. Because it's a sad thing to think about a student leaving their classroom, right? But we've got to frame it with, this is a new adventure and a new start. And our teachers are going to work really, really hard to support our kids, which I know they've supported, right? We've all supported our kids through a lot of social, emotional challenge this year. And this is going to be another one. Okay, great question, Jason. I'm going to keep looking here. Panel, is there anything I should specifically themes wise?
Swindle, I'm not sure if we addressed this or not, but there's a couple questions about if families choose one way or the other, online or hybrid, but it's not working, what are their options at that point?
Yeah, I mean, obviously for us, the most important thing is if you could make a selection for the rest of the year, we're going to plan our staffing and placement around that. We always have and always will accommodate the individual needs of our kids. So if a child is struggling or if a family has a really specialized need, we're always going to try and wrap around that situation and accommodate and try and meet kids where they're at. So ideally, you choose what it is and we go for it. And please know that we're going to work like crazy to make it the most positive experience that we can. I've been talking with other principals who are already reopened in other areas and trying to learn from them, learn about, hey, we can't do assemblies, we can't do some of the, field trips, but here's what we can do to try and make the experience really good for our kids. So we will, of course, work to accommodate kids individually, but we really need you to try and commit to a program to finish off the year. Okay. COVID testing right now would not be offered on site. Great question. Question is, would COVID testing be available on site? No. However, COVID testing is free at multiple sites in our community, very near. So if that's something you need, you call us, email us. We know Virginia Garcia. We know the Student-Based Health Center at Tigard High School has some. We anticipate having free COVID testing and being able to, if you needed to leave school to go get a COVID test, we would be able to support you. Mario would be able to support you in getting a location with a free test very near us. Okay. I'm going to keep rolling through questions. Can you choose different models for different kids? Yes. If you have siblings that you want, you know, I think there's probably a case that if there's a kindergartner and you want them in person, but you want your 5th grader to stay online, whatever the case may be, you may choose different models for your different children. Trying to cruise through here. Mid-late March, mid-March to right after spring break, there's a question on there. That is our best guess at this time. That is our best. If the vaccine rollout happens as we believe it's going to happen with our information right now, that is our timeline. And again, I'm going to keep communicating every step of the way with you as we learn anything else. The only thing that could change about reopening, if we did see a big spike in community spread, currently our community spread is on a downward trend, which is a good thing, right? But if we saw a really high spike in community spread, following that medical guidance, we might slow down the timeline for reopening schools because those metrics are in place to help guide us and help us to reopen schools in a safe way for kids. I'm trying to cruise through questions, guys. Anything from our panel?
Swindle, the second to last one is about substitutes.
Great question. So substitute teachers getting vaccinated. Yes, our company for substitutes is called ESS, and they are enrolled in their own vaccination timeline, getting substitutes vaccinated as well. So I know less specifics about the exact windows and how they're rolling through that, but they are rolling through that just like our childcare providers in the community and private preschools and all of those other things. Okay. Currently, our school year is set to be the length that it is, but honestly, I'm telling you exactly what I know right now. So this is my best information right at this moment.
There are a couple of questions at the end about masks.
Masks, great question, you guys. I'm going to be really transparent and say that I've been researching and working a lot. That's a very common question that we're having. What's the best type of mask? What's the most comfortable mask? Question from Diane around, hey, if kids are running around, if we're playing basketball, if we're doing those kind of things, if we're, you know, doing anything physically active, do we need a different type of mask? And so I'm going to work really hard to get some information together about different type of masks that are available. That's been a really common question in our community, and I'll have that ready for us for our evening with the principal next week. Okay. I myself, just personally talking, have been looking at kind of the sports masks that are more neoprene. We will have for families that need them. We're going to start a mask drive for wrapped packs of masks. I've already picked up a ton so that if a family needs them, if they cannot afford masks, we want to make sure to be able to provide all of our families with really strong cloth masks. We will continue to share information as a community about most comfortable, best masks for our kids. And so I'll come back with this. And can they wear face shields in addition to masks? Yes. Face shields in addition to masks. Go over. So Josh, information about metrics. I can go over that. I could also, why don't you, if you don't mind shooting me an email, and I'll give you a call tomorrow to go over it more. Bottom line, we are safely within the metrics. We're at 333 per 100,000 per week, and safely in the zone and in a downward trend, meaning that is why we're getting ready to reopen. Okay. Lauren, email Metzger office. They're going to help you get on Parent View. Any questions you have, you guys, I don't want to oversell how amazing our office staff is, but they really are incredible. Metzger office at ttsd.k12.or.us. Email us, call us. We will help you. We will get you all set. They can even walk it through to help you make your choice. Okay, any other questions that we really haven't hit, panel? Let's see. Okay. Wonderful. Okay. So in kind of closing out today, you guys, if you're leaving this feeling really confident about what choice to make, your parent view is open. You can go in and make that selection tonight. Okay. You can email us at Metzger office if you have questions. I am here. I can chat about it. I'm also going to host a separate session Tuesday night where we can talk more about what this will look like. And I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything specific. Looks like we've got, yep, looks like we've got it all covered here. And I anticipate when you walk away tonight that more questions will come up. So please don't hesitate to ask. Please join us next week, Evening with the Principal at 5 o'clock. We'll send you the link and a little reminder. It's fun. We get to know each other. It's a lot more informal. And then in Spanish at 6 o'clock next Tuesday night. Okay, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. I really appreciate your time. And don't hesitate to reach out to us. We're here as you navigate what I know is a tough decision for a lot of us. Okay, thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.